You're listening to the Mountain Practice Journeys podcast, a comfy, cozy place for private practice introverts, highly sensitive therapists, and solopreneurs who help and heal. This is the place for practical, nature-based, magical support for your business and life. Hello there, and welcome back to the Mountain Practice Journeys podcast. I'm your host, Cindy. Here in episode 78, I'm going to chat with Hannah McCormick and Nicole Hiller of Showing Up Solo about how to come up with marketing content. Now on to our conversation. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Mountain Practice Journeys podcast. I'm here today with Hannah McCormick and Nicole Hiller of Showing Up Solo. And Showing Up Solo is your guide to marketing your service-based business online. So welcome, Hannah and Nicole.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do in your business?
Absolutely. Nicole, do you want to take it?
I was going to let you start off. I always like it when you start and then I add on to it.
Okay, fair enough. So Nicole and I are a team. We both own our own businesses, but we figured out that it's a lot easier to create consistent, effective marketing if you team up with someone. So we've been teaming up for the past year, like officially teaming up for the past year to create a podcast called Showing Up Solo and to provide service providers with marketing support, marketing consulting. We basically help other service providers like ourselves get all the foundations in place to have an effective marketing strategy, from web copy to email marketing to social media. And we're just all about, just because you're a sole proprietor, just because you're a solopreneur, it doesn't mean that you have to be on your own. And we wanted to build a community that people could feel supported in.
Yeah, I would say that was like wonderfully described. It was because we both had started our businesses in COVID and it was just so lonely. You know, everybody shifted from being in an office, working with people, to being on their own. And while the opportunity of growing your own business is amazing, it's also really lonely at times. So Hannah and I luckily found each other, and we realized that a lot of our clients that we worked with, and even just people we talked to, were feeling really similar to us. And we wanted to really grow and provide a place for other people to not only learn, but also have a place where they can connect with one another and not feel like they're doing it all on their own. So, yeah.
I think the biggest part was starting a business was both super empowering, and I know for myself, I could never go back to not being a business owner. Mm-hmm. I love it, but it's also so much hard work. So it's like a double-edged sword that way. And we just really want to help as many other, especially moms like us who we're working from home. We've also had to balance childcare and everything in with work before. And sometimes when you're an employee, it's not the easiest thing to do. So we really wanted to build our lives and our businesses around what we wanted to do with like how we wanted to prioritize our families as well. And we just want to help as many other people do that too. Help them get started and discover like how awesome it is to be a business owner without having to go through quite so much of the loneliness and the trial and error that we had to.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And my sentiments exactly, like I could never go back to working a regular job or working for someone else, but it can be hard running your own business. And I'm all about simplicity and just finding, the easiest way to do things and the most supportive, and being able to find people, that can help support you with this and maybe give you some tips and help to simplify things, because marketing and just being online is so overwhelming because you hear so much from all areas and you sometimes feel like you have to do it all. But it's like, no, you can have a simplified marketing strategy and show up in ways that feel good for you. So yeah, I'm really excited about our topic today. So today we're going to be talking about what to talk about in your marketing content and how to come up with content ideas, because a lot of people, they freeze when they're like, oh, I don't know what to say, or I don't know what to put out there.
Yeah, I would even start with people discredit their knowledge and expertise, and they think that, you have to be this big like marketing guru to talk about anything. And I love how you really worded it as like simplicity, because it can be as simple as you need it to be. Just start from the beginning. Don't make assumptions that everybody knows what you know, because you're the expert for a reason. So offering ways for people to learn about you, the services that you provide, educating them about things, or like just even really great beginning steps to creating content.
Yeah, that's really important for therapists, because we don't realize that, when you've been in school for years and years and you're inundated with all this information, and then you get out of school, you're surrounded by other people in your field that all maybe know what you know, but you don't realize like your clients or the people you're trying to reach, they have no idea. So like you said, starting with the basics and just some education about what you do, because not everyone knows all these terms or how you can help them.
Yeah. And I think the other thing to remember is when you are at that expert level, which if you're a service provider, for example, you are an expert. You wouldn't be a service provider providing a service if you didn't have a level of expertise. But you can forget that this is a common problem I find, is that people, as a service provider, what the solution is to your client's problem, but they don't realize that that's the problem. You've got someone, a business owner who's super overwhelmed, right? They're super stressed. And what they think is, like, I'm at capacity. I can't make any more money. It's taking over my life. I need an assistant. And they think that the solution to their problem is an assistant, when actually the solution to their problem could be, their actual problem could be that they have mindset blocks or money blocks that are getting in the way, or their systems and processes are just a mess. Like they're doing 3 times the work that they need to, and things could be automated or streamlined. And generally, as a service provider, you can spot that's the problem. You can look at someone's life and go, yep, this is where, like, I can see this gap here. Then this is where I fit in and fix it all up. But your client is still in the, I'm overwhelmed and I don't know what to do phase. You have to lead them from that to the realization that this is the problem and this is the solution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would even go take it a little step further and say, especially as therapists, right? You're really taught to empathize and understand someone from their point of view. And so in creating content, if you can really help people self-identify with your content, it'll make them feel that much more heard. Like you understand where they're at, you understand the problems that they face, and they'll be like, wow, like I really feel seen, like this person knows who I am. And so like creating content around that is just, it not only builds that trust factor with your audience, but it also just shows that like you are a real person and you understand where people are at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And people in the helping fields, they're really good at this, and they don't always give themselves the credit that they deserve. That, yeah, you know how to talk people, you know how to make people feel heard and to use your voice. So I think, just being able to believe that you have something really valuable to offer when it may not feel like it's this, the things that you post or the content that you put out there, it doesn't have to be mind blowing. It can be the most simple thing, and that can be the most helpful, so it doesn't overwhelm people.
Yeah, it could be, you don't need to publish a chapter from a textbook to be educational and informative in your content. You don't have to say, here are all the signs and symptoms. What you could say is, do you feel angry all the time? Or, here's some like open up a conversation rather than bombard people with information. Be like, are you wondering why you feel tired all the time? Here are some things that could affect it, and just invite some engagement from your audience, like invite them to join in the conversation and start to self-reflect a little bit.
Yeah. In addition to just like, first of all, recognizing that you do have something valuable to offer, what are some other ways that can really get people into, feeling more confident or, being able to identify like, okay, what is it that I actually share with people and what do I post?
Well, there's a really, sorry, Nicole.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to go to my good old friend, Answer the Public. I don't know if you've heard of this website, answerthepublic.com. It is amazing. What you do is you go onto this website and you type in a word or two, like you could type in therapist, for example. And what it does is it brings up a list of all the questions people are asking in search engines like Google, all the questions with that word in it. So like it could be, what is a therapist, or what kind of therapist, or who is a therapist, or and basically it gives you, it does it visually or as a spreadsheet, whichever. I like the visual personally. Mm-hmm. But it basically shows you all the questions related to that word that people are actually asking. And so if you go there and you pull out these questions and answer them in your content, you're doing two things there. One, you're providing answers to the questions that people are actually asking, and you're increasing the chances you'll be found through a search engine because you are directly responding to questions that people are asking.
Oh, I've never heard of that website. That's really cool. So maybe let's say that there's a therapist out there that specializes in working with people with social anxiety. Is that so you could maybe type in social anxiety and see all of the questions that people are asking surrounding that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. And it's actually Hannah showed me that about a year ago, and it really opens the door to how you look at creating content in your business, as well as it kind of helps you to see what you look for things for your own business as well. So always knowing what kind of questions to answer, but even going in your own socials, like in Instagram, go in your stories and ask, you can poll your audience to see like, what kind of things do they look for? What kind of things do they like? What information do they need more of? People like answering polls, especially when they can feel involved in things. Like people like to feel like they have a part in something.
Yeah, I love when people that I follow on Instagram, I can see in their stories and they have polls, and it's just really fun to answer the questions and interact with it.
Yeah. Facebook groups are great for that as well. If you can find a Facebook group where your ideal client would be spending their time and asking those questions. The other thing that you can do is I find the best way to get ideas for content is conversations with strangers, conversations with people who are outside your industry and don't know what you do. My mom is a pretty talented copywriter, and she was helping me convert a lot of my video content into blog pieces for me earlier this year. And she would message me up and say, "Oh, what does this word mean?" So I understand it. And every time she'd call me up, she would give me an idea for another piece of content. We'd be doing something like lead magnets, and I thought I'd explain what a lead magnet is. And then she'd say, "Well, what's a landing page?" I'm like, "Oh, I have to explain what a landing page is." And the more you get someone who really has no idea what you're talking about, the more you try to explain it to them, the more questions you need to answer for your audience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it can be really easy to surround yourself with people that are maybe in the same industry as you, or just your colleagues and friends. And a lot of my friends are coaches or therapists or solo business owners. So I'm just in that world. And so it's even even someone that's not in that world, even just the term therapist, some people think of that as a physical therapist or like a speech therapist or a mental health therapist. So even being able to distinguish like what your title is and what that means and how you help. So it can get really, really nuanced.
And I also think one of the best questions if you're just trying to start out is, what do I keep telling people over and over again? And you may think, if I'm explaining this all the time, I shouldn't put this as content, but absolutely you should. Like that should be something you answer weekly, if not monthly, or monthly, if not weekly, in your content, is whatever you have to tell people all the time, that should be in your content.
Yeah. So essentially that would be like how their life can transform from the struggles that they have now to the services that you provide to help them. So, and offering that in many different places, not just like a lot of people get stuck that they think that they should only post about this once in one place, or if they do it too many times, it's redundant. But the likelihood of someone reading that all the times that you share it is very, very small. So actually posting it more often, or putting it in a newsletter or in a blog or going on live and talking about it. The more times you talk about it, the more opportunity someone has to really see the expertise that you have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's an important point because a lot of people do shy away from posting, like they work up the courage to post this one thing and then they never post it again because they don't want to bother people or they don't want to be like, oh, well, everyone saw this. But, if you post something on Instagram, like people may see it for a day or two and then it's kind of hidden, it's gone. And unless you go to someone's profile and scroll down into their feed and look at all this old stuff, like people aren't going to see it again. So even, sharing the same things, like you said, monthly or just to have them pop up and sharing them in different formats. And even people that I follow, if I really, like what they're saying, and I see them, I may read something in their newsletter and then I see them talk about it on a video and then there's a post about it. Like I don't get annoyed. And I think that sometimes we get to know people more. Maybe, whenever you go and maybe at a holiday gathering, you have this one family member that tells the same story over and over again, and it gets to be really familiar and it's comforting. So I do think that you're not going to annoy people by repeating some of the same things, because also sometimes you have to see something or read it or hear it like 6 or 7 times before it even really sinks in, like the meaning of that or what you can take from it.
Yeah, you're actually helping your audience by repeating yourself, because they may have, the first time they've encountered that piece of content, they might have been distracted. They might be doing something else. And it doesn't mean that it's not important for them or useful for them, but they just weren't at the right place to process that information. So then they see it again and they go, oh, yes, no, I was interested in this. Let me take the time to read it. And maybe they even say the third time, okay, now I have to make a call. The more times they see it, you're actually helping them. You're helping them remember that they want to work with you, because we all have busy lives. And I think it's very, very easy to get very focused on you and what you're putting out there, and forget that you are just one voice amongst a sea of others. So if you have something important to say, you've got to be patient and keep saying it until you're heard.
Yeah, I would even add on to that a lot of times we read something, like Hannah was saying, and it doesn't connect with us. And it might be at the place we're at in our business, in our lives. And maybe we hear someone else say it, and then it make that connection of, oh, I have heard that somewhere else. And then when you read it again from that person, your interest to understanding and wanting to know more it might increase because you're hearing it more often. And then you're wanting to get to know that person a lot more. So people have this very curious lens that we just want to know more about people. We want to see that personal side of them. So having little opportunities to get to know someone is really great.
Yeah, that leads me into a question that I had about, the different types of content that you can share, because people do want to get to know you more. Maybe they just don't want, stats and figures and helpful information. But so how do you recommend people balance by maybe just showing up and sharing something personal, and how much they balance that with, oh, here's a tip or a tool for this very specific thing? Because I notice sometimes, like when I post something random that's might be a little more personal and it has maybe a picture of me, it gets more engagement than something that I posted. I'm like, oh, this is really helpful information. It's going to help like so many people. So I do notice that sometimes when you can show up as your human self, that people are really interested in getting to know you.
Yeah, I think that is so important. Oh, Nicole, did you want to say something? Or?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think at the beginning, it really starts with what you're comfortable with and really staying true to who you are and what you want to share with people. I think a lot of business owners feel like they need to show more, or they need to share too much that they're not quite comfortable with. And while, pushing yourself out of your boundaries is a really good opportunity for growing and learning, you have to do it at the pace that you're ready to do it at the beginning until you're ready to show more. As well as there's okay to kind of limit how much you share with people, because, you have to feel comfortable and confident with your own decision.
And I think in terms of what topics and what we like to call them content pillars, which is basically they're themes that you post around. So you want to post educational content, informational content. What that does, the function of that is help your audience understand the problem and the solution and the technicalities of working with you, the what that you do. Sharing about you personally helps your audience realize that you're the one they want to work with. It's the why they should work with you. So there's therapists. There's lots of therapists. Why would they pick you over another therapist? And that's going to come through in your presence, in the way you speak, in your mannerisms. People want to have an emotional connection with you to choose to work with you or feel comfortable. And content about you that's a little bit more personal is the perfect way to do that. Whether it's sharing a story of how you came to where you are, or past experiences, or for example, I'm always talking about that my kids will pop into calls and everything, because that's a reality of my life, and it's a reality of a lot of my clients' life, so they can see that I can empathize with them, or that they don't have to feel pressured to appear perfect around me, because I am most certainly not. And then the other really important pillar, I think there's three. There's educational connection, and then there's promotion. And this is the part that a lot of people shy away from. They don't like to be salesy. And I think especially when you're in a service-based industry. Most of us get into a service-based industry because we like to help people, and we don't want to feel like we're forcing ourselves on them. But your educational content covers the what, the personal covers the why, and the promotional is the how. This is how we can work together. Telling people, oh, so you figured out that you might want some therapy. You figured out that I'm the therapist you want. Now what? Well, this is the ways we can work together. We can do like this package, or weekly or monthly, or you have to tell people how they can work with you. Don't expect them to do all the hard work and to guess. You need to show them and ask them clearly, I'm available to work with you, and here's how. And that's a huge part that people forget or intentionally shy away from because they can feel uncomfortable.
I know we've had a few conversations with a number of therapists that we've worked with as clients, and they feel icky. Even us, like at times we felt icky, of like feeling salesy, trying to explain to people why you're the person who can help them. But do you look at it as you're the salesman, or you're the person who is like supporting them to get past this challenge that is holding them back from where they want and need to be? So it's really like changing a mindset block as well.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Changing that mindset, so it's not slimy or icky to tell people your offers, because there are some really gross techniques out there, but people in my sphere don't use those. So I don't think we have anything to worry about if we have our social media pages and we're posting about our new offers and saying how we can help people. Like the people that are following us have chosen to follow us and get our content, or the people that have signed up for our newsletters or that have opted in any way to hear what we're about, then it's almost like they've given that consent to hear about your offers and hear about how you can help. So I think changing that mindset to where it really is you're offering your services because you do want to help people.
Well, and yeah, like Nicole and I, we worked together as contracting for each other prior to officially kind of sort of teaming up. And we worked really hard on creating packages that addressed the consistent problems we found our clients had. Like we kept having clients who were missing the same things from their marketing plan. It was always these gaps. And we thought, okay, we want to create a package that has everything in it, right? So that they get set up. Now, let's say we work really hard on this package that we know is going to help a lot of people because it's based on the solutions we've given to other people. And then we just don't tell anybody about it. We're not helping anyone by not telling them it's available. If you've worked really hard to craft a package, whether it's some kind of group coaching or like an extensive like mastermind or something, like if you've taken the time to craft something knowing that it is going to help people and then you don't tell them, you're not helping anyone. So if you can acknowledge that telling people, i.e. promoting and selling your product, your package, is in fact helping. It is being of service. I think that's the really key thing to remember.
Yeah. And I love those pillars that you mentioned where it really is about, that educational piece and maybe getting to know you piece. And then a lot of people forget that other piece of letting people know how they can work with you and that promotional piece. And it's equally as important as the others because that's what keeps you in business. That's how you can continue to provide your services. And that's by people investing in your services.
Yeah. And I think I like it nice, simple. A lot of, if you're managing your marketing on your own, it's a lot to ask to post like 5 times a week or something, or 7 days a week. So I like to just think about a simple 3 post a week marketing plan. Post Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Those are the days that get the most action, and post and just check those boxes off. Okay. I need 1 educational post, 1 connecting post that's going to either help my audience feel heard or show them that I'm the right person to help them or inspire them, and 1 promotional. So ask for the sale once a week. And it doesn't have to be right away, like work with me. It could be, I have a free resource that you would find very useful, or I have this many spots available for clients this month, or I have a workshop coming up. And it doesn't have to be the same message every week, but if you try to think, I need to check off those 3 boxes every week, your content planning becomes so much easier.
Yeah, I like that. That makes it easy. And that you're covering all the bases and people can see see all that you have to offer. Like they can see that you're helping them. They get to know a little bit about you and they know what you're offering. Yeah, I think that's great. And that way it's not overwhelming and people can, have those little categories. And I think that's going to help them when they're wondering, oh, what do I post or what do I even talk about? And I know even for me, sometimes during those other posts, like if it's not a promotional post on a few of them, I'll still put at the very bottom, maybe like a sentence. It's like, yeah, we go over some of this in my mastermind. So, check out the link if you're interested. So it can just be a one little sentence, something that you can add really at the end of any post, just to continually let people know, yeah, I am available for this, or I have this offering.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think a lot of people feel that they need to post just to post, but if you are providing good content that people with, you don't need to post it often. And it's like you said, all you need to do is offer something at the bottom that shows how they can get more info from you or how they can get in contact with you. People want to know that they can connect with you more, not how often they need to connect with you.
Yeah. And I think that for some of the people that are a little afraid of those big promotional posts, like that was a way that I kind of got started in that, where it was just like a little PS at the bottom, because initially I was feeling really shy about like, oh, I don't want to seem too salesy or be too promotional. So I would do this really great post and give some valuable information. And then at the bottom be like, oh yeah, by the way, PS this. And I've continued doing that, even though now I've added on the promotional post where really that's what it's about. It's like, hey, come join me for this.
Yeah. And it's okay to put a call to action. And in fact, you should be putting a call to action with every piece of content, even if the call to action is just an invitation to comment or to respond. But if you don't put a call to action at the end of your captions, which is, like you said, just that little sentence saying, hey, go here to learn more, or reach out to me via DM, or let's have a call. Or just even head to the link in my bio to see what else I have to offer. It's a bit like dinner without dessert. Your audience is looking for if they've gotten to the end of your caption, they want more. It's like leaving an episode on a cliffhanger. They're like, wait, I want to, I'm ready to binge. Give me some more content.
Yeah, I think that's a good rule of thumb. Like anything that you put out there, give the reader something to do with that, whether it is inviting them to comment or asking a question. Oh, like, oh, do you prefer this or this? And just incentivizing them to comment. So yeah, I think that's a great rule of thumb, because it is, like you said, kind of like a cliffhanger. If they've made it all the way to the end of your post, reading it, it's like, okay, what now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say a lot of people don't use call to action as much as they should. Mm-hmm. Even a simple one of check out my link in my bio, or have you read my new blog? I find that a lot of people don't use use their call to action incorrectly because they feel guilty about asking something of someone. It's like, I don't want you to do something for me because I feel like I need to do it for you. So it's really understanding how it builds the relationship and the trust.
Yeah, I think it's very easy in this world of social media to feel like you need to be a content creator. And yes, you need to be creating content for your marketing, but your job, you're not, unless you're like, that's what you do, you're a professional YouTuber or Instagram influencer. If you're actually using social media to market your business, then that's what it should be doing. And that should be the focus. That should be where the energy goes. And if you take anything away, I think you should remember that marketing is just helping strangers, helping your ideal clients go from not knowing who you are to knowing that they want to work with you. Mm-hmm. And that's what your content needs to do, is bridge that gap between not knowing who you are, not knowing you exist, to knowing they want to work with you. Yeah.
I think that's the simplest way to put it. And it makes it less overwhelming and intimidating when you think about online marketing or showing up. And if you can just keep that in mind, then I think it will be easier to create that content to bridge that gap. Is there anything else that y'all can think of? Any final words on this topic?
I think try not to overthink it. I know we just shared like a lot of information, but at the end of the day, it's like you said at the beginning, try and be as simple as you can, and start from the beginning. Try and look at it as if you're talking to someone who is completely new to this topic and you're really trying to guide them along. Start there.
Wonderful. Yeah. Before we end, why don't you tell people like how they can find out more about you, if you have any offerings, and where you're at on social media?
Absolutely. Well, so we have our podcast, Showing Up Solo, which you can also find on YouTube, our channels. Everything's Showing Up Solo. You can find us everywhere as Showing Up Solo. But that's our series is all about breaking down bit by bit all the elements of marketing. So if you are trying to figure out from scratch what is marketing and how to do it, I highly recommend our series as a good place to start. And we also have a freebie called the Full Circle Content Guide, and it actually walks through how to find a topic and then how to create what we call a long form piece of content, i.e. a blog post, a video, or a podcast episode, and then take that piece of content and turn it into 20 plus pieces of content. So you can find that through our website and through our links and our bios, and I'm sure you'll be happy to leave the link in the show notes.
Yeah, definitely. And I love that you mentioned that. So Hannah and Nicole are going to be joining us again next week, and we're going to be talking about how to make your content go further by repurposing and expanding on what you already have. So I'm excited to have that conversation.
We are too. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for being here.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for joining me today. For episode 79, I'm going to continue my conversation with Hannah and Nicole about how to make your marketing content go further. If you haven't yet listened to episode 77, I urge you to do that. That solo episode was called I Was Boring Because I Was Scared. I'm truly grateful that you choose to join me here for practical, nature-based, magical support for your business and life. For more inspiration and to see what I'm up to, join me over on Instagram at Mountain Practice Journeys. If you're enjoying yourself here, please head over to Apple Podcast and hit those 5 stars, and I'll be over the moon. And if you'd like to work with me, join me in Forest Mind, my cozy, small group mastermind for private practice introverts, highly sensitive therapists, and solopreneurs who help and heal. May the forest be with you.